Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into a new edition of Batter Up here on the Sports Insanity Network, sponsored by Halpern's Cards and Collectibles. I am Mike Rifkin. So here's the plan for today's show: All-Star Game recap / Home Run Derby recap. Things to watch in the second half as we get ready for it in the world of baseball, along with some big weekend previews. But as I mentioned, we'll start with the All-Star game that took place in Seattle, which, by the way, Seattle both nights, Derby, All-Star game, Seattle was awesome. For the first time since 2012, the National League wins the All-Star game by a score of 3-2. In the top of the eighth inning, Elias Diaz of the Rockies hit a two-run homer to put the NL ahead 3-2. A lead they would not relinquish. So the National League wins the All-Star game, first time since 2012. And listen, name of the game was, we had 5 runs, 16 combined hits. And pitching-wise, you had in the National League, you had Zach Gallen started. He threw an inning. Mitch Keller threw an inning. Josiah Gray. No one threw more than 2 innings on the National League side. For the American League, same thing. A couple of guys threw a third or 2/3 of an inning. But nobody went to. Garrett Cole got the start for the American League. There are a couple of things I want to touch on. Now, I get the rules of if you pitch Sunday, you can't pitch in the game on Tuesday. A couple of guys opted out of the All-Star game to get ready for the second half, which is something else I totally understand. There were kind of hits and misses with that for me this year, but all in all, the game was great. Great game, fun game. I know people are going to complain low scoring, but to me, it shows, it mattered. It matters to the players. Unlike, in my opinion, the NBA All-Star game, which I think is brutal. The Pro Bowl, which is dreadful. The one problem I have, and I wish baseball would go back to this, just let the players wear their own team's jerseys. The National League's on the road. Have them wear their road team's uniform. American League, have them wear the home team uniform. I don't care about American League, National League jerseys. That's never mattered to me. Showcase the teams they play for. Years ago, I think the MLB Network played the 2001 All-Star game, which was the last one in Seattle. Those guys were wearing those jerseys. Derek Jeter was wearing the pinstripes. Cal Ripken Jr. was wearing the Orioles home white. So to me, that's something I wish baseball would get back to. I get it. You got to try to sell these other jerseys. But to me, I'd rather just have them wear the regular uniforms. I think it's cooler, personally. So that was Tuesday. Monday night was the home run derby, and I got to tell you, it was phenomenal. Vlad Jr. wound up winning, beating Randy Arozarena in the final. Julio Rodriguez put on a show in the first round against Pete Alonso. I think he hit a record 41, which was just amazing. He wound up tiring out. Adley Rutschman put in a great round as a switch hitting catcher. He was phenomenal. Luis Robert was great. It was a fun derby. And I think for the first time in a long time, I've said this to people, the derby had the most swagger it's had in a long time. And when I say swagger, I think not just popular players, but guys who, like to have fun. Vlad Jr., Julio Rodriguez. I brought up Luis Robert. Randy Arozarena was phenomenal, but he, fun. Mookie Betts. Like, the stars came out for the Derby. I get it. I'm going to compare this to something else that people love. People love the dunk contest when it comes to the NBA. But the dunk contest would be so much better if the stars wanted to do it. Here in the Derby, Mookie Betts is a star. Vlad Jr. is a star. Julio Rodriguez is a star. Luis Roberts a star. Let me go back to Mookie Betts. He's a superstar, Randy Arozarena is a star. All these guys are stars in their own way. And it was fun. Everyone was into it. Minus the broadcast, which I thought was dreadful. The Derby itself was amazing. Yeah, listen, you're not going to get me to go on a little bit of a rant on how much I didn't love Perez or Carl Ravitch during the Derby. I miss the days of Chris Berman, but here's what I would like to see. And this is just a hypothetical. Mic up the players who aren't in the Derby. And let's see them react to how the Derby goes. I think that would be something. I think that's something a lot of people would love to watch. Instead of having them ask, I don't want to be rude, but having them ask dumb questions during the Derby is not something I care about. I don't want Eduardo Perez saying to Boba, hey, ask Vladdy this. Or hey, this guy talk like this. Just mic up the players. And ESPN may not go for it, but I think that would be something that would interest me. So the Derby was great. The All-Star game itself was good, which means we're into the second half. We're going to get into the second half of baseball. That'll start Friday. We'll talk about some of the bigger series in a couple of minutes. But there are some storylines to watch for me in the second half. I'll start in the National League. Which of the disappointing teams is going to make the run? Are the Mets going to make a run? Are the Padres going to make a run? Which of those two teams can make a run? Would I be shocked if both made a run? No, I wouldn't be shocked. So both those teams are in need of something. Can the Blue Jays make a run? That's got some potential as well. Are any of the surprises going to fall off? The Reds, the Marlins, are one of those two teams going to fall off? I'm not sure. We're getting closer to the trade deadline, which is August 1st. So that's always going to have an impact on stories. So those are just some things to watch here in as we enter the second half of baseball. Two other things quickly, and then I'll dive into some weekend series. One has to do with the Yankees. They fired their hitting coach on, I think it was Sunday after the game. And they hired Sean Casey, who had been working at MLB Network, former Red first baseman. Dylan Lawson was the hitting coach who they fired. So, and Sean Casey, who played with Aaron Boone in Cincinnati, He's the new hitting coach for the Yankees. Now, according to Andy Martino of SNY, 3 teams have already inquired about former Yankee hitting coach Dylan Lawson in some capacity. I'm never really a fan of firing pitching coach, hitting coach midseason, unless it is totally justified. This is not justified. I get it. The Yankee offense has not been what it is, but I think you're blaming the wrong guy here because there are other guys to look at. One guy I would look at is Brian Cashman. You know why I would look at Brian Cashman? Because Brian Cashman has brought in he's brought in all these guys who've struggled. You know, it's Dylan Lawson's fault. Giancarlo Stanton doesn't do anything but hit homers. You know, Stanton's not going to hasn't hit for a high average. Strikes out a ton now, but he's always hurt too. Josh Donaldson, what was it? 10 of his 14 hits have been home runs. It's Dylan Lawson's fault Josh Donaldson hasn't hit. It's Dylan Lawson's fault that, that guy like DJ LeMahieu just doesn't look the same. Here's the other part of this that I don't think people understand. Aaron Judge is the Yankees. You know? Aaron Judge is the Yankees. You know, he's been down, and who knows if he's coming back. That's another massive storyline. You know, if he's done for the year, how is he going to react if he comes back? They're in trouble without him because guess what? I don't trust these other guys in the lineup. They don't have another guy. And, you know, in that ballpark, I think they get way too home run happy. So they need to figure out what they are. I think a lot of people think, you know, Cashman would do, okay, this is going to take the pressure off me and Aaron Boone. No, the pressure's still there for both of them. So what happens next? If you're the argument's sake, this is a hypothetical for Yankee fans out there. Yankees missed the playoffs. Unless I'm not saying I'm rooting for it. I'm just telling you, what if? How can you look in a mirror in December and wait for Hal Steinbrenner to say, Brian Cashman's coming back, Aaron Boone's coming back? What's the reaction going to be? I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand how you could keep wandering through the mess that is the Yankees. Oh, we'll fire the hitting coach. That'll get people off our back. No, you're the New York freaking Yankees, and you're gonna just fire the hitting coach. It's the hitting coach's fault Luis Severino stinks. It's the hitting coach's fault that Aaron Boone has Domingo Germán cruising the game before the All-Star break and pulls him at 74 pitches. That's on the hitting coach. That's on Aaron Boone. So listen, I actually like Sean Casey. I thought he was great on MLB Network. I think he could do a great job as the hitting coach of the Yankees. The problem for me is the Yankee roster is flawed. The Yankees are flawed. So we'll have to wait and see. One other thing on the Yankees, and this one actually also drives me a little bit nuts. I just have the Yankees are now putting a sponsorship ad on their jersey. It is Star Insurance, and they will pay nearly $190 million through 2030, averaging $25 million a year. The New York Yankees are getting a patch And I get there's going to be a lot of people who are going to criticize me on this one, and that's fine. I don't care. I never thought I'd see the day, to be honest with you. I would have thought, hey, maybe we'll put something along a wall here or there, and that'd be fine. Um, I'm I don't like it. I don't like the fact that the Yankees are putting it. They were the one team, maybe along with the Red Sox, that I would say I wouldn't expect that, to see a patch on their arms, because the jersey's such an iconic thing. And I get it, you got to make the money, but with what you charge in ticket sales and what you get here and there, and it's just like, at what point is it not about the Yankee pride of the Yankee? The pinstripes. Listen, I get it. It's business. You want to make your money. I don't know if George would have done this in his life. I don't know. So I think that just shows you where the times are. And let me be frank with you. I think the advertising on jerseys is such crap, to be honest with you. I know, once again, business, you got to make money. But to me, I just think those are terrible. So I, I'm out on the jersey patches, but especially from the Yankees, because the Yankees, I don't know. I just don't like the idea. So there's that as well. So jersey patches, I'm out on. The Yankees fired their hitting coach. I'm, not really intrigued, but there's one other piece of news, and then I'll get to, because there was something discussed yesterday, and this is from Chris Kirschner of he covers the Yankees for The Athletic, but Cardinals president of baseball operations John Mozeliak in an interview said, "Right now, I can tell you we're going to trade people. I just don't know if it's going to be household names or more of guys who are just not likely to be here next year." So the Cardinals, who I think are the biggest disappointment in the National League. I know people will say the Mets and the Padres, but I thought the Cardinals would run away with the NL Central this year. They are 11 and a half games back. They're 38 and 52. They have a minus 33 run differential. Here's the thing, and there's a couple of things to point out. He said, I'm not sure if it's household names. So household names, there's only two for me on the Cardinals. If you want to throw Wilson Contreras in as a household name, that's fine, but he hadn't had a great year. So you're looking at Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado. That's what you're looking at. Here's the thing. If you are going to ship those two guys out, then that signals to me, cancel everything. This is now becoming a rebuild. Now, I know people could say, well, it could be a retool on the fly. But the part to retooling on the fly is you need something to build around. I'm not sure what you're building around in St. Louis if you're getting rid of those two guys. Now, I'm not a expert on farm systems, but to me, who scares you in that lineup if you get rid of those two guys? Jordan Walker's had a nice rookie year. O'Neill, okay, maybe. but I don't know if he's a building block. So, and also, if you're going to get rid of Goldschmidt or Arenado, can't you get more in the winter? You can get more teams involved. So to me, that signals. I think those two guys are safe unless someone blows them out of the water with an offer. If someone could blow them away with an offer for one of those two guys, I think you'll have a deal done in minutes. Like I said, maybe Wilson Contreras, but he's in the first year of a 5-year deal. I can't see them trading Adam Wainwright. Just let him retire as a Cardinal. But then guys like Jack Flaherty's probably gone. Steven Matz is probably gone. Jordan Hicks, who someone's going to give up a lot for. Guy could throw 102. Doesn't throw well to the bases, but it's all another conversation. So those are probably three. They have 4 or 5 shortstops. They can get rid of one of them, probably Paul DeYoung. They have a bunch of outfielders who they get rid of. O'Neill, like I meant, Tyler O'Neill, who I talked about before, could be a guy. So they have guys they could get rid of, and they're going to sell, which I think is a smart plan for them personally. Especially when you look at talent that they could have had because they traded away in other deals. Sandy Alcantara could be in this rotation, but they traded him for Marcell Ozuna. So that's something that you just don't see the Cardinals do, but they're going to sell off. I wouldn't sell Goldschmidt and Arenado off unless you're blown away. If you get blown away with an offer, you've got to consider it. So the Cardinals are going to be intriguing to watch at the deadline. The Angels with Ohtani, of course, as that looms. I'll talk more about that on the Sunday episode on how you go about no potential Ohtani deal. So here are the series to watch for the weekend as baseball gets back ready to go. You get the Dodgers and the Mets at Citi Field in what could be what. Here's the deal: the Mets need to take advantage here of a second half schedule that's going to see them play a lot at home. They're 7 out in the wild card. Dodgers and D-backs still fighting in the NL West. The Mets are going to have their big three going. Verlander, Senga, and Scherzer, I believe, are going to be the 3 pitchers. I'm not 100% sure who the Dodgers are throwing out there. See this based off ESPN. Julio Urias will pitch Friday, according to ESPN. Saturday night will be undecided, so that might also be a bullpen game, unless they can activate Kershaw off the IL, which, so they've only said Urias for Friday, according to ESPN. So Dodgers at Mets. 2 teams played an interesting 3-game set in LA earlier this year. Yet the Padres and the Phillies rematch of the NLCS. I think the Phillies, to me, they're a team to watch in the second half in the National League. I think they can go on a big run. Trey Turner didn't have a great first half. Bryce Harper hasn't had the power numbers. I think both of those things are coming. The Padres, we know where they stand. So 2 teams are going to compete really hard here in the second half of the National League. Marlins Orioles. Who thought in July you would talk about a Marlins Orioles series? But here we are. That should be an interesting 3-game set. A lot of young talent out there, both sides. D-backs and Blue Jays, which brings back one of the bigger trades of the offseason. Dalton Varsho from Arizona to Toronto for Lourdes Gurriel and Gabe Moreno. Varsho's had a nice year in Toronto. They're to me, they're the team to watch in the American League the second half. If they can get hot, and I think they can, they're a dangerous team. To me, they are the. I think a lot of people talk Rangers, Rays, Astros, and I think the Blue Jays are that team that. Okay, we're flying a little bit under the radar because of how good those other teams are. We can make a run. Brewers, Reds, they ended the first half together. They'll start the second half together in Cincinnati, NL Central. White Sox, Braves, White Sox, they've been brutal. They're another one to watch at the deadline. I think the Braves are the best team in baseball, so that's one. And Astros Angels should be an interesting one. The Angels are interesting to watch just based on the fact of if they stay competitive, what do you do with Ohtani at the deadline? That's the interesting question. Again, I'll talk more Ohtani on the Sunday edition of Batter Up. The Astros, they're just so good. They really are. They're just so good. They found a way, despite a lot of injuries, to only be 2 games back at the All-Star break. And then they open up. I know they're opening up with the Angels, but then they go play the Rockies, and they could take advantage because Texas has to play the Guardians. Aren't world beaters, but the Guardians are playing for the AL Central, and then the Rangers play the Rays. So if the Astros could take care of their business against the Rockies and the Angels, and the Rangers scuffle, the Astros could overtake them into first place in the AL West. And that'll be without Yordan Alvarez currently in the lineup. I'm not sure about what the status is of Altuve. The Astros, and listen, they lost 3 or 4 to the Mariners coming into the break. I think they needed the break, so I'm going to give the Astros a bit of a pass, plus the Mariners needed it. So those are the bigger series to watch. Just to go over the standings here, and then we'll close out. The Rays are still 2 up on the Orioles, 7 on the Blue Jays, 8 on the Yankees, 9 on the Red Sox. The Yankees being closer to last place than first place. The Guardians lead the AL Central by a half game over the Twins, 5.5 over the Tigers. I am not going to say they're 8 up on the White Sox because I think if the White Sox get hot, they can win this thing. I just don't have faith in them. And then there's the Royals. Rangers are 2 up in the AL West on the Astros, 6 on the Mariners, 7 on the Angels, and closing the distance are the A's. The Braves, 8.5 up on the Marlins in the NL East, 12 up on the Phillies, and then the Mets and Nats. Reds are up a game on the Brewers, 7 on the Cubbies, 8.5 on the Pirates. Diamondbacks, Dodgers, tied for first. Giants, 2.5 back. Padres, 8.5 back. Then you get into the wild card stuff because this is the time of year we're looking into. The Orioles, Blue Jays, and the Astros will be your 3 wild cards. The Yankees are a game back. Red Sox 2. The Mariners 4. Angels and Twins 5. I'll tell you what. I said the Blue Jays would be a team to watch. Watch the Mariners too, because the Mariners got that rotation. Kirby, Castillo, Miller. They've got a nice rotation there. They got a great bullpen. And if they can get some of these guys to get going offensively after taking 3 or 4 from the Astros, that's big. National League, Marlins, Diamondbacks, and Giants are the 3 wild cards. The Phillies and Brewers are a half game back. The Padres are 6, Cubs 6.5, Mets 7, Pirates 8. And if you're double digits, I'm not going to get into it because the Cardinals said they would sell. The Nationals aren't going to make it, and the Rockies aren't any good. So in the National League, listen, I think you're going to get one team out of the NL Central, whether that's the Brewers or the Reds. I wonder about the Giants a little bit. I'm not sure what they are. And I think you're going to see a run from the Mets and the Padres. There's a firm belief in me. I'm not sure they both make it, but they'll close the distance. So those are some things to watch as the second half of baseball gets underway. I'll be back Sunday morning for another edition of Batter Up. You can follow the network on Twitter at @SInsanityReal. Also on Facebook. I don't think we've started the threads yet. Yeah. You can go to the website, www.thesportsinsanitynetwork.com for blogs, vlogs, planes, trains, automobiles. I am Mike Rifkin. Thank you for listening to Batter Up on the Sports Insanity Network, sponsored by Hal Prince Cards and Collectibles. And I will talk to everyone again on Sunday.